Hello, you guys. This morning I am reading Genesis 1 in my Bible, and I wanted to share with you a few observations, a few questions, and I want to be sharing my Bible study with you guys. So, for this video, I'm only going to talk about after I've read Genesis 1. I've read it a few times throughout, recently. That's what I've been reading just over and over. This video I want to talk about just my observations, and then in future videos I'll be sharing about different books and different sources and what those sources add to our understanding of Genesis 1, and also, as I continue reading Genesis 2 and so forth. But for Genesis 1, my simple observations are that, well, first of all, what is it talking about if you're not familiar? Genesis 1 is the creation story. It talks about how in 6 days God created everything, the universe, and it describes it in an orderly way. Each day God created something, and so there are a few observations. It's interesting because as I'm learning more about different religions and different things that how scientists would describe the beginning of the universe, and there are different scientists, different explanations, and those have changed. Some things have changed, some things have not throughout time as we discover more things and things like that. So just keeping that kind of in the back of my mind. It's interesting how we have this book, the Bible, and it is the book that it is our authority as Christians. So the claims that it makes about creation, that the universe was created, that alone we take as our truth, our authority, and not blindly, but considering what it says. And you have different things, different evidence that you consider, and that convinces you that the Christian worldview is the most reasonable thing to believe, rather than even just secularism, but given all of that, there is this authority that we have of Scripture, of the Bible. And so as I'm reading this, I'm thinking, interesting that God made sure to include the creation story in the book that we would all study and view as our authority. And he thought that it was important for us to have an understanding, a concept of how this world began, and how he was here before all of that, and how we are also created by him. And so what it has been a new observation I've had is that the way that it describes how God created different things, it's not all the same. The way he describes how he created, how he got things started with the universe, and then how he describes For example, in verse 20, then God said, "Let the waters teem with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above." So it is happening. At least it seems that God is speaking and things are being created. To my understanding, Christianity is compatible to some of the theories out there. For example, the Big Bang theory. It could be an explanation. It could be compatible with what we're reading in Genesis 1, in that it claims that the universe had a beginning. And so that theory doesn't go as far as, well, what got it started, because the explanations will just, well, this happened and that this had to happen, but it never goes back enough to saying, well, what was, the first cause, And Christianity would say, well, it's the creator. We would use the Kalam argument that, let me see if I get it right. My daughter would get it perfect if she were here and she were to say it. But okay, everything that has a beginning has a cause. The universe has a beginning, so the universe has a cause. I think that's how it goes. And so that's how we would make, like, the theory, for example, the Big Bang theory and the Bible, Genesis, how they would be compatible with each other. Genesis is an authoritative writing, not just to Christians, but in Judaism. And so what was another observation, what was interesting to me was that, well, before I say that, I wanted to say that it was interesting how God describes how he created people. And yeah, this is what I was going to say, and what I wanted to say right now. It's if they merge. So then in verse 26 it says, "Then God said, let us make mankind in our image, according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every crawling thing that crawls on the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. And it continues. I found it interesting that the way that he started the beginning of creating mankind, the wording is different from the other things. I was thinking, when I was reading about, for example, the animals, then God, in verse 24, he says, "Then God said, let the earth produce living creatures according to their kind, livestock and crawling things, and animals of the earth according to their kind, and it was so." The language is interesting, because it's saying, let the earth produce. So although God is the one that is starting it, I wonder if the language allows for some kind of explanation for how God got that going, So that was interesting to me. I never thought about that before. But back to people. I was thinking when I read that, this is the verse that we use for defending the concept of the Trinity. God is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and he is one. And that concept alone deserves like its own study. But what came to my mind was, some religions, I think Islam included, say that God is not the Trinity. And so I was like, I wonder how they would explain, how would they argue against this verse here. And, in Judaism as well, if they reject that Jesus is the Son of God, the Jewish people that have not believed in Jesus Christ, if they reject Jesus, then I wonder, because they accept the Torah, right? What am I trying to say? The first 5 books of the New Old Testament. To my understanding, they accept the whole. Old Testament. I think they have it in a different order than us, but it's still the same books. So I wonder how throughout, at the first moment that these words were taught, spoken, I wonder if they even already had that concept even before, but as soon as they heard this, I wonder how they understood it. That might be a separate video, So that came to my mind. And also the discussion of complementarianism and egalitarianism came to my mind. This is also another verse that is very significant. And even just in Christianity, how we have our views of men and women are shaped by this verse. And we're not a religion. We don't have a worldview that says that women are less than men. So, but going back to like just creation observations, to me it seems that God mentions his, the way he is Trinity in this verse, because I think I read this somewhere before, that God mentions that he is Trinity because the way God made man, capital M, mankind, the way God made man is not just one, but two. So 2, but 1. One mankind. He made us man and female, but we're one, So that was an observation that came to my mind. And then the chapter 1 ends with that what's for breakfast, pretty much, like, so what are we gonna eat? And God explains it. I want to see if I can, I'll read the whole chapter just so that we have that in one of our videos. So I'm going to read Genesis 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was a formless and desolate emptiness, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and there was evening and there was morning one day. Then God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." God made the expanse and separated the waters that were below the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse, and it was so. God called the expanse heaven, and there was evening and there was morning a second day. Then God said, "Let the waters below the heavens be gathered into one place, and let the dry land appear," and it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed and fruit trees on the earth, bearing fruit according to their kind with seed in them." And it was so. The earth produced vegetation, plants yielding seed according to their kind, and trees bearing fruit with seed in them, according to their kind. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning, a third day. Then God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and they shall serve as signs and for seasons, and for days and years, and they shall serve as lights in the expanse of the heavens, to give light on the earth." And it was so. God made the two great lights, the greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. He made the stars also. God placed them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, and to govern the day and the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning, a fourth day. Then God said, "Let the waters teem with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the heaven." And let me read that again. Then God said, "Let the waters teem with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth in the open expanse of the heavens." And God created the great sea creatures and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarmed, according to their kind, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth." And there was evening and there was morning, a fifth day. Then God said, "Let the earth produce living creatures according to their kind, life, livestock, livestock and crawling things and animals of the earth according to their kind." And it was so. God made the animals of the earth according to their kind, and livestock according to their kind, and everything that crawls on the ground according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make mankind in our image according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every crawling thing that crawls on the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth, and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." Then God said, "Behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the surface of all the earth, and every tree which has fruit yielding seed. It shall be food for you, and to every animal of the earth, and to every bird of the sky, and to everything that moves on the earth, which has life, I have given every green plant for food." And it was so. And God saw all that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. I'm just kind of thinking in myself. Whenever I clean up something in the house, and it took me a while and a lot of effort, or I felt like, oh, I'm never gonna be able to get this thing in order, the Bible verse always pops into my mind, where God saw all that he had done and saw that it was good. And to me, that Bible verse just, it's funny because I don't know if you can relate. I think women for sure relate with me. Like, you clean a closet or something, and then like you're done, okay, I'm gonna move on and do something else. But like in a few minutes or whatever, like you walk again in the area, you just open it up the door, the closet door, And you just look and it's just so satisfying. That Bible verse always comes to my mind. I'm like, yeah. I also look and I am and I see it is good. I like seeing it. Anyway, that was just a random story. But what doesn't seem to be random is the way that God gave us our creation story. It seems so straightforward. When you start to read, like I homeschool my kids, so we read about different societies in history, different cultures, how they have their explanations for the moon, the sun, and the Genesis story does not deify any of these things. It's very clear about how God is the only supernatural creator, and everything else is a result of his wisdom, of his power, of his unique way of being, different than his creation, that makes him capable of creating such a universe. And to me, it's the saying goes, the Bible is not like necessarily a science book, but at the same time, it seems to be giving us an explanation in a way that could be understood as we learn about science. Like how it's very specific about talking about its own kind. Like seeds, for example. In our homeschool, we're learning about growing things, and so our particular seed, whatever we grow, it has its own genetics, I guess, and it has its own information. So that has to grow. That has to be according to its kind. And as God is explaining that concept, that its own kind of animals are going to, give birth to each other. Its own kind of plants are going to grow. So, even how God explains it, mankind was going to be created in the likeness of God. So it's really interesting. So I'm thinking that the next video will be chapter, like the preface in chapter 1 of this book. So if you're interested in listening to more videos like this one, please go ahead and subscribe. And you know what, check if you have my channel as the notification to receive notifications, because I have heard that a lot of people say I don't get notifications of your videos anymore. So please make sure. And if you want, also I'm going to be sending out my newsletter in a few days, so you can sign up for that at susanmorales.org, and I will give you these video links in there so that you won't miss any of these videos. I know it can be hard to find these videos on YouTube sometimes. So yeah, okay. And I guess just to let you know what it's a long time ago, I got this book because I wanted to go more in depth in my Bible study on Genesis, and so I started reading it, and it's going to talk about like ideas. For example, like why did God create things, and how does it relate to his kingdom and things like that. I don't know if I said it in the right words, but it's a very interesting view that you might not have even thought about as you read it, as how his creation relates to himself. So that's a little teaser, I guess. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you watched it all the way, please give me a like and a share. Bye.